right, welcome to another edition of Grown Folks Business on a rainy Thursday, but it's still the temperature is tolerable. It's still a nice day because the temperature was actually tolerable. Just grab your umbrella and you know catch a little evening breeze if you like. Um, I'm glad to have the people that I have in the space and the place. I think Merrill's got kicked off, but he'll probably come back in. Today is a show that's 2 weeks in the making, primarily because it was there, and I was like, "Oh, we had a good engagement." And 2 episodes ago, and Julia said something that made me say she has to be, or her and Gregory have to be a part of this particular topic. So I pushed it back for that purpose. Thank you for making sure you let me know that this was the way to get you guys here for this episode because I would have hated to have done it and been like, oh gosh, I didn't have Julian Gregory. It would have been perfect. So I'm glad you kind of brought it up and we got to come to this space and this place and do what we do on these Thursday evenings. And that topic is actually concerning utopia. So is utopia a worthy pursuit? I think it's going to be important, first and foremost, in honor of our good brother, Jay Dwayne, to define utopia. And you can define it in your own way if you choose, because I don't know if everybody has the same concept or construct of what utopia is. The definition is an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect. That's a little high level. And whenever I discuss utopia, I often talk about the pursuit of it because I don't know if perfect is ever going to be something that is a reality. So the pursuit is what we're discussing because I don't think there's anything wrong with striving for that perfect place or that balanced society, that thing that makes us all feel valued, et cetera, et cetera. The pursuit is there. We may not see it, but the pursuit is worthy, in my opinion. So, is it worthy in your opinion? So, we're having some technical difficulties with some people, and I'll repeat as I normally do the question as we go. But just want to say thanks for joining us, Celeste, Lisa, Greg, and Julia. Andre and Merrill are having a little technical difficulties, but I think they'll get back in here. And Danya, thanks for doing what you always do. So, is utopia a worthy pursuit? And please, when you're answering, define what utopia is for you. So I'm going to start with Julia and Gregory. But of course, Julia, I think you may have been thinking about this a little bit. So.
Yeah, so, um, I don't ever think about making something perfect. But I think all the time about leaving something better than I found it. Whether it's going into a bathroom and cleaning up all the water splatters, or our what we're trying to do with feeding people in Davie County, or working with young people through the Respect Initiative. Um, Not trying to make them perfect, but trying to be an example and trying to do something every day that helps someone or something. Um, and I think if we expect perfection, we are setting ourselves up uh, for a downfall. But we can strive for perfection. So I like your, striving for utopia versus expecting utopia, because stuff happens and how we respond to it determines, and also our state of mind. Are we creating a peaceful environment in our minds and in the way we live? So, okay.
A reasonable expectation? Don't know. Expectations generally get us in trouble anyway. Is it worthy of our effort, every effort? I do think so. When we meet people on the street, Can we look them in the eye and smile? Yeah. And does that extend that line? Yes, it does. And so I think that's one way of building towards what we might call utopia. But it's a work in process, as people say, and I think that it can be done um, incrementally. And when we finish this life and we're on our deathbed and we're reviewing our lives, I think we will see some moments of divine living, divinity, and utopia. Moments of, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are jumping ahead a little bit. Some really good comments there, but you're going to probably revisit some of those exact thoughts with some of the questions that are coming up because you highlighted already, Julia, some of the things that you do that I think are that pursuit. I mean, we know drawing the perfect line is almost impossible. I remember being in what was it, architecture class? What, not architecture, because I didn't do architecture, but it was the class in middle school where you had to use the boards and the rulers and the all the T thing, and I couldn't do it, but I tried. And that perfection eluded me of drawing that perfect line that was the beginnings of the roof to the house or whatever the heck I was drawing. But the attempt was in earnest, and I think that's what we're talking about. Just it's a worthy pursuit. So we're going to come back to some of the things you mentioned, and as always, great comments. Lisa, coming to you next. Is utopia a worthy pursuit? And feel free to define utopia if you feel the need.
So I don't think utopia accepted definition culturally pursuit because it's not possible.
Lisa, hold on one second. Is it me or is her connection slow? Or is it me? Connect, Lisa. You got something going on with connection?
Not that I know of. I mean,
Yeah. Do that, and we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Something's going on. Some technical difficulties. We got gremlins in the building. Okay, Meryl, I'm going to come to you next. So, is utopia a worthy pursuit? And if you like, define utopia on your terms. And Lisa, if you jump back out and jump back in, or see if you can solve that, we'll come back to you in a second.
Yeah, I think individually it is. I think if you, as an individual person decide that you want to search for utopia and you find folks that have common interests that want to search for however you define utopia, it's a worthy pursuit as long as people don't have to agree on what utopia is. But I do believe it's really great to, put minds together. You said something else about um, being comfortable in spaces where people disagree with you. Like 'cause that sharpens your ideas and you can find more people that if you take the time. I've said this like 100 times about, and I don't know if I could define utopia, but I've said 100 times on this show and other places. People are probably tired of hearing me say I'm so interested in like figuring out the positions that create people's create the interest that creates people's positions, because people show you those positions, first time you meet them, but you don't take the time to kind of dig and like figure out why people think that way. So as long as people have opportunity to figure out utopia for themselves and find other people that agree with that, I mean, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, as long as you're not doing any harm, I totally agree with that, and you're not collaborating with others to uplift your group above others at the expense of others, which is again harmful.
Absolutely.
I think in the spaces that you mentioned that we've kind of established, I think, Meryl, you and I, in some things that we've endeavored upon, and you have done so much over the last few years that I've actually paid attention to, acknowledge, and celebrate you for. But when we enter those spaces, there's the what about ism, and there's the what about this, and that's kind of how I want to approach the ability to interact with some people that may be outside of my normal purview, and I may be outside of theirs. Is not the what about isms that are programmed in, just the easy gets. What about this? It's literally real time thought, and you only get the ability, I think, to exercise that real time thought by exposing yourself to those places that may not be as familiar or comfortable as before.
I think just in general, people have a hard time dealing with conflict. I mean, you see it in a lot of community. I think, especially in rural communities, but it happens all the time. There's a lot of conflict avoidance, and there's some conflict that is healthy to fuel because it'll get you to, a resolution or get you to figure out some type of process. And then there's obviously the type of conflict that doesn't get you anywhere that you don't want to give life to. But I think people aren't willing or comfortable or have been conditioned to like embrace um, disagreement or conflict. I mean, people tend to run away from it.
Yeah, and I think, and this is not to go off the subject matter, because I think this is all in line with however you align at some point to understand that you're pursuing better outcomes for all, which is again a journey along that pursuit of utopia. So I was at I think it was, what was it, Tuesday? There was a historical marker dedication in Rockingham County for, it was 12 gentlemen who fought against Duke Power. They were all black men, black Americans who were discriminated against, and the results of that case ended up being something that we all benefit from. The right that we value to not be discriminated against at work. So, when they say you can't apply for this job, there's no basis for it, and it is illegal because of what these men did so long ago. And salute to Valencia Abbott for all the work she did to bring it to the light. But that's a part of that journey. This is a long process. I mean, we don't get to always see the final score. And like MLK said, hopefully, and I don't know if he said hopefully, but the arc of the universe bends towards morality, some sort of that. I know I'm misquoting it, but yeah, it's a long arc. It's not one that we just get to see the end of in our lifetimes. But their just for instant recall from the other day, their contribution benefits us as a society, whether they consider that the pursuit of utopia or not. It is in line with the pursuit of something better, and that's what we're discussing at a base level. So, Celeste, I'm coming to you next. Andre, I hope you're okay. Andre's saying some reason tonight when I turn on the sound. So yeah, maybe you and Lisa for some reason are dealing with some kind of audio issue. Maybe turn off your device and turn it back on. That's the best advice I can give at the moment. Celeste, coming to you next, and Andre will try if you're there when we get done. But is utopia a worthy pursuit, Celeste? And if you like, you can define utopia on your own terms.
You mean in the United States of America or throughout the world?
Whatever spaces you choose to occupy, Celeste. And I think it's both and then, right?
So yesterday, it's funny enough, I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was talking about how the writer of the Constitution was talking about how all men are created equal was something he actually believed in. I believe we were talking about James Madison and his contribution. And he believed that, all men were created equal, but Black people needed to remain enslaved because white people were too biased and violent for white and Black people to live in unity and harmony, and that white people would kill Black people if Black people were not inferior to them. So that's why all men are created equals in the Constitution, but Black people weren't freed. And then,
if I may, the historian in me, Celeste, come on.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson, and this critical, because he understood, and it's unfortunate, what was needed to build a new country, which was free labor. So I totally, other than Thomas Jefferson was the guy.
No, James Madison said something about it too. That's what we were talking about, James Madison's part, because we got into the graves at his plantation. We're just talking about Thomas Jefferson. That's a whole different. We ain't breaking that one down today. That's a whole show on its own. But when we talk about a utopian society, and as far as America goes, I don't think America is ready to combat the history that it would have to build a utopian society. And as a world, I don't think as a world we are prepared to talk about World War II and how anti-Semitism essentially allowed Hitler to rise, but it was anti-Semitism throughout Europe, not just in Germany, because he was attacking the Jewish people of Europe, and that had been done many years and centuries prior throughout history. Like before there was Adolf Hitler's ghettos, there were ghettos, I believe, in Poland and uh, Austria, where Jewish people were also forced to live in because they weren't able to live amongst the general population. And then you get into Russia and its history, and essentially why we're currently helping Ukraine fight Russia now, because Russia has a history of trying to pour into Europe through war. And then we get into World War II. I understand World War II, a lot was going on. America felt the need to drop a nuclear weapon. What is it? In Hiroshima, Japan still has an eternal flame burning, and it will only be put out when there are no more nuclear weapons in the world. So that flame's going to burn forever. If you want to get into the history on the continent of Africa, the constant invading, going back to ancient Rome, ancient Greece attempted to trade with different African countries. Then we get into Great Britain taking it over. For a utopia to be built, there would have to be more history confronted, combated, and dealt with in a positive way than I think mankind is capable of. And if
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we go into the internal conflicts on different continents, the different European countries combating each other, the different Asian countries fighting, like what right now we have China versus Taiwan. If China invades Taiwan, the US said they'll go to war with China. Like the next big war is expected to be the United States and China because of the economy. People forget that Africa is a continent, but it's a continent of, I think, about 100 countries, and they're people too. Even though Western society likes to forget that, they go to war with each other because what is it? The king of I want to say Belgium, even though I know I'm wrong. Well, the king who went into
King Leopold. Are you
yeah,
talking about?
Leopold went
Okay,
into the African continent and tore it up, and Great Britain went in there and tore it up when it marked off different territories. Before that, the people of Africa separated by their different tribes and into their own countries, and Western civilization marking those lands has sent them into conflicts. They had conflicts anyway because they're people, and conflict is natural. It's not a black or white thing, but now it's done differently because of how Western society has broken up the continent. We are not prepared to confront the eternal and constant conflict to have a utopia. And then, I mean, if you want to get into the US, Canada, and Mexico.
Celeste, slow down.
Yeah.
You going too macro. I want you to, you making some wonderful points, but I want you to just you got one more to make before we.
No, that was actually
okay.
Like if you want to get into US, Mexico, Canada, I mean, there are so many conflicts and so much history we're not able to and prepare.
Yeah. So the value, the net value from your contribution right now is one I'm going to actually celebrate, and that is that we got to look backwards before we can look forward. There are so many moments in the history of our world that we could easily reflect on and say we got to do better than that thing. Now, one of them that you mentioned is it's fortunate for us, and hopefully we don't get close to that ever happening again, is the fact that us actually witnessing what an atomic bomb can do on a large scale. The fallout from it, the ramifications, has seemingly negated the next one happening in more modern times. But I totally get where you're going and what you're saying. However, if you look at that macro view that you were just unpacking, is there an opportunity? And if you bring it to a micro level where we can control what will our contributions be, that's the overarching conversation. If you got a quick comment, make it.
When you said we, do you mean us as
individuals?
I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna have peace within my life, but as far as the rest of the world, I'm gonna let them do that on their own. Because for me, the macro view is the view that I genuinely think of. Because one thing I have learned in law school, everything is pretty much decided through precedent, and precedent tells me that we're just not there as a people.
Don't give up. And I think your pursuits are actually in line with some type of contribution. Lisa, you got your microphone fixed? Let's see.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Much better. All right. So your answer to what is the pursuit of utopia worthy? And if you like, define utopia.
So my answer is no. I don't think the pursuit of utopia is worthy because we have a definition, and I am a wordy, and I will subscribe to the definition that is culturally accepted, that utopia means perfection. And I don't believe that there can be perfection, not individually or macro or micro. I subscribe to e-utopia, which means simply contentment and basically doing the best you can. And I attempt to do the best I can. And maybe this is from that 7 years of intense therapy, that I'm good with some good decisions and some bad decisions because I made the best decisions that I could at the time. And in order to have healthy perspectives and feel the level of contentment and to keep on keeping on, you got to take some glimpses at the rear view, but keep your eye on the front view. And so I'm spending a lot of energy doing the best I can based on what my abilities are. Some people may try to elicit their abilities or their desires upon me and say, oh, you shouldn't, or oh, that's too much, or that's whatever. But my e-utopia, my happy place and space, is accepting that I'll do whatever it is I want to do that makes me feel good about me being me.
Okay. I'm gonna challenge you in just a moment because the pursuit at minimum on a societal level, I know you're contributing in some form of fashion, even if it's not the outright yes, this is perfection utopia, but you're contributing, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. So Andre, coming to you right quick, if you can unmic and we can check and see if your sound is working.
Can you guys hear me?
Perfect, man. So is utopia a worthy pursuit?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely it is, because I define it as being in a state where people don't really have worries, and for the most part things go as expected in a pleasant way. And I think pursuit of that would be a good thing. I think that is something we should look to pursue and obtain. How it's possible, that's another story. But should that be the goal? I think so. And I don't want to. I'm here, but when I have my mic and the camera on, Felton, it sort of chops up your voice, almost like auto tune. So I'm not going to try to mess it up. I'm learning a lot listening from you guys. But Lisa, I love you. I disagree, though.
That's what we're here for, and I don't think it'll come to blows. So this was one of the overarching goals for tonight, and we got enough time to do it. So it was something that I thought made perfect sense for this topic, and that's for everyone to speak about what they're contributing or how they're contributing or what they're doing on a local level or however you view that level being, if it's micro or macro. What is your contribution? Even if you don't, envision it as a pursuit of utopia, but you're contributing in some way. And I know everybody on this call is. And if you think about it on any scale, please let us hear from you. So I'll go first just to give you an idea. And I even want to mention, because I don't know how time is going to go, kind of responding to one of the questions I had. But my contributions have been some mentoring, some intensive direct thoughts and energies towards finding specific ways of communicating about the specificity and plights, the specificity of plights associated with Black Americans in this country. And I've just spent a lot of time really trying to make inroads in edifying and learning and growing and just finding areas where connectivity and with the idea of our shared humanity being at the center of it are the goal. So a lot of ways, a lot of things. I'm not trying to read off a resume, or this is not about self-aggrandizement either. This is really about just sharing what you're doing, what your contributions are. What there was a question that I had, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead, but it was what's some of the proof that you've seen that your efforts have been effective, right? So keep that in mind, and I'll remind you guys. But I was like, man, I've seen some young people that I've worked with grow up, and I remember being one of those young people that was worked with, and I grew up, and I remember appreciating the time that was spent and what was poured in, and I've gotten some of that back. And Meryl, when I was at that gathering, one of the young people that was there who came up to me was Keenan, and he's in college now, and I think we spent some significant time during COVID, going back and forth on the NC Leap function with NC 100. And the young man was just appreciative and glad to share where he was at in his life and how he was doing in school, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually witnessing your contribution to this pursuit. And that's experience. And that's something that's meaningful for this pursuit. There is some payoff. So that's how I kind of mean it. Please feel free to go into further detail with what you have going on community-wise and what your contributions are. Everybody here is humble. So again, this is not a self-aggrandizing thing. It's really to just put out into the atmosphere that, we can do more than one thing at one time, and it doesn't have to be just about us as individuals. That's a big part of really getting closer to that utopian society in my mind. Meryl, I'm coming to you next, so feel free to take that wherever you like. But overarching question is, tell us about what you've contributed.
Yeah, well, I hope it's worthwhile. I'll try to do this and not get too all over the place. I really never know how to explain kind of what my contributions are, and I don't. I'm really good about talking about like the work I want to do in community, but I would say like individually and in community, and it kind of ties back a little bit to Lisa's perspective about doing what you can, especially like in this type of work, the community development work where you experience a little bit of compassion fatigue because like you see a lot of harm and a lot of hurt and a lot of things that you want to be able to fix, and you feel like you're um, plugging holes in a boat that you wish could never have holes, which would be what you need. And a lot of times we're just so busy trying to plug holes, it gets tiring. But I'm saying all that to say that I think that the contributions that I make and other people make, and like the kind of the shared vision that, of the work of the people I choose to want to kind of work in community, it's pushing this really big, huge rock up a steep hill. And if you think about it, that you're the only person that's pushing that rock, then you're not going to be healthy. And if you're not healthy, then you can't do the work effectively. So like I think we have to appreciate these little micro contributions that we make to this larger ideal that we dream about, and be happy with that. And I think my main contribution to that is continuing to, um, I'm really hyper focused on rural investment and prosperity because I'm from a rural community, and more people die in rural counties in North Carolina than are born, and that's been going on for like the last 5 to 10 years, roughly. And that math doesn't work for rural communities to be able to prosper, because not their best and brightest, but a lot of folks that would be able to contribute to their society go away and never come back, and don't find ways to contribute. So like, I'm really vested in that type of work, because North Carolina is the second largest rural state next to Texas. So it's just really important that our rural communities get X, Y, and Z. And I think and the last thing that I would say that I think that I am doing and want to continue to do is trying to be a small part of a community where the benefits of society and the burdens aren't predicted on where you live and how you look. And a lot of that work has to be done in learning how to organize and get people across their shared interests together. I think I've talked a little bit about this idea of trying to navigate power. And power kind of operates in these three concentric circles of institutions, groups, and people. And most people say, institutions have the most power in that complex Venn diagram. But if you organize people with similar interests, that can create groups, they can control systems or dictate and change things to go. So the people who need access to them can operate that way. And if you can do that in like little small spaces and models in city here, county there, community here, it starts to spread, and like, you're part of that incremental change that's going to lead to this place that you have to have faith that we're going to get to. So that was a little long-winded, but
Nah, and good stuff. And Sisyphus is the guy who keeps having to push the rock up the hill, and it comes right back down to him. That's something that was equated or brought up to my attention when it comes to teaching. It's a never-ending exercise, but it's a worthy pursuit. This is a worthy endeavor. Great answer, Meryl. Good way to unpack what you do, man, because it is a lot, and I'm appreciative. So Celeste, Meryl kind of touched on some of the political stuff that I think we were mentioning before we came on air, which are those, understanding that people actually do have more power than we may give ourselves credit for. So you don't have to go back into the politics piece of it, but what is your contribution, if you care to unpack that, and you can go for it. You there, Celeste?
I'm here. I was just thinking about what you were saying.
Yeah.
I would say my biggest contribution, it's just something I've learned recently. We have to inform people of what their power truly is, because I go to these events and I hear people speaking, and usually I'm like, okay, let me interrupt to inform, because we as people a lot of times don't understand that you are one voice, but your one voice can touch 10 people, and then those 10 people touch 10 more people. Progress is slow and change doesn't happen overnight. Like, people are like, oh, using voting for an example. Well, I voted. That's great that you voted once for Nixon in 1970 something or 60 something. But voting is a continuous process. Holding your leaders accountable is a continuous process. Everything is continuous. Those one voices are going to turn to 10. Those 10 reach 10 more. Now you're at 100. And those 10 reach 10 more. Now you're at however many. I don't do math like that, so y'all going to have to calculate it for me. But that's how powerful you are. I always tell people, go on Facebook. Y'all posting about dogs and cats and stuff during election season because y'all worried about this, that, and the third. Post about the candidates that you support, because what? You reach more people who are more likely to vote on Facebook than any other social media network.
No, I totally agree with some of that, Celeste, especially the portion about I think is the missed opportunity of social media. We had the chance to come closer together and really, as Meryl was saying, and as you were continuing to unpack, the galvanize our power is the individual people that are desiring of this instead of that. And we rather look at cats and take selfies. Greg and Julia, your ideas about what you contribute and what you think gets us closer.
Cool. I'm going to say that probably one of our greatest contributions is forming relationships and developing relationships with all different kinds of people and connecting people. In fact, we have somebody who's head of North Carolina rural churches, I think, that we want to connect Merrill with. He's a real activist. He left the Methodist Church, but anyway, we want to get you all connected. Here's just a positive example how one person's life has been changed. Felton, you might know this story, but it just unfolded yesterday. So we all know Bob Winslow from being in the squares. We connected him with Todd and another friend of ours, Robert, who have been making regular trips to Zimbabwe, and not just for a week or 2 weeks. They've been spending months there, living there, working with the embassy and developing entrepreneurs that want to give back to their fellow Zimbabweans, or however you say that, not to avoid the corruption and develop a middle class. Okay. So Todd meets this artist who is amazing. Name's Dylan. He drew this elephant. He'd never seen an elephant before. And he drew this lion. He never had seen a lion before. They were amazing. Todd actually took him to a state park and so he could see them. So Todd and Bob Winslow got together when you all were out here for the art show. Bob Winslow is now in Africa. He is meeting with Dylan, who lives in a hut, and he's never flown anywhere. He's never been out of his little city. And Bob actually flies him to Arusha, where the largest African cultural center and museum is, and they are going to sell his paintings. He's never been out of his small town, and now he went to the beach for the first time, he flew for the first time, and now his pictures are going to be sold. So, that's just an example of being able to connect people, knowing people in different spaces, and things just work, when we are genuinely interested in other people. And
you were absolutely right. I was familiar with that, and I know he took him some art supplies as well.
Yes.
So that's awesome. And I mean, you're right. The thing about changing or presenting some positive change, potential for positive change in someone's life is just a little time well spent, and a little investment or a little sharing of resources. And that's a great story. Greg, did you have something you want to contribute?
Sure, I'll jump in. One of the things I think I've mentioned before, Felton, is that idea of spiritual leverage. And that's something that Julie and I focus on and have focused on for years. We believe that just a little bit here can be leveraged to something greater there. And Julie mentioned the idea of forming relationships and introducing people. That's something that I think that we do naturally. We like to bring people together. When we were in Denver for the All-American City Award, Earl Hunter was there, and he's the Black Folks Camp 2 guy. He's in Denver the same time we're there, which is pretty incredible. And we met some folks at the All-American City Award, the Modus Theater Group. Man, that was like an incredible. Anyway, we brought those Earl and the Modus Theater people together, and we just happened to be together in Denver. So that kind of magical thing seems to follow us around. At least we're paying attention, and so we're making the most of it. I'm going to add one word to your thought, Felton, that idea of contribution. That word is creative contribution. We're all creative. We can all be creative, and we all have a unique ability, our capacity, and that's what we call between us a creative contribution. When we look at Lisa and Merrill and Felton, and we look at ourselves and all of our friends, we recognize that unique spark of creativity, and that can be leveraged.
Absolutely. Wonderful how I'll incorporate creative. And yeah, I think I actually got to hang out with Earl a little bit at the dedication fire out there at the airport. Yeah, I too find myself being a connector. Meryl knows that's one of my main contributions to NC 100. There's this idea that I have with anyone that I meet, not to uh, extract their value, but to actually say, hey, here's somebody else you might need to meet, and you don't know where it goes from there. And sometimes it goes nowhere, but sometimes you get to see that, oh, this was a worthwhile connection. This made total sense to happen. And I think that is that thing that Julia mentions about being present. If you're there, you'll connect the dot, just like that. Like, oh, well, this person needs to meet that person, and bam, it happens. Um, Lisa, what are your contributions? How do you calculate what you do?
Man, how I'm gonna follow up all of these rock stars? Jeez. Um, so thinking about the question, I think my greatest contribution is being passionate about um, utilizing my experiences to the betterment of others. An example is I was on two meetings today, two totally different types of meetings. We're kicking off our mentoring program this coming Monday for Black females between the ages of 12 and 20. And our target are the term at risk. We got the funding for a teen pregnancy prevention, quiet as that's kept. So what the mentoring program is designed to do is to give these young Black females exposure to things to help them make connections for opportunities that they could pursue other than using their wombs as leverage, which is what I did, right? I've spoken on here quite authentically about me creating a human being because I didn't feel loved. And I had no idea that I was smart, not smart. Those kinds of things were not in my present forethought. I didn't feel loved. And I was a foster child and all these other things. So in the meeting today, one of the people who's actually coordinating the program or going to actually facilitate the program on Turning Everything Around's behalf, we were going over the schedule of activities, and she said, well, the day after Thanksgiving, I don't think we need to have the meeting. I mean, because we're going to have check-ins with these young ladies every Friday, because we want to give them a lot of touch points. And so she says it'll be the day after Thanksgiving, and people probably want to be with their families. So even though I'm pretty far removed from the experiences I had, I said, well, I don't want that to be us disconnecting. Okay. Because I remember being in that situation, and I didn't have no family life that we still celebrating over the weekend. And I want to make sure that we give these young ladies an opportunity to still have some touch points and some relationships along positivity, even on the day after Thanksgiving. And if I am disconnected from what I felt like at 12, the day after Thanksgiving, then I'm no good to the 12-year-old right now. And being able to recreate that opportunity for someone else, and maybe they can benefit from it, because we don't know. And I had to be specific about, this is our target. Our target is a foster child. Our target is a child who has a parent incarcerated. If this is our target, they're not coming from the TV show Cosby Family Life. So we can't take the days off. And I don't, it's not about me making any of our coaches or mentors do anything. I'm going to make sure I'm available for certain things. And so at that particular meeting, then our grantor, two people from Second Harvest, they were on the meeting, and they said, well, you know what? We don't really do anything either. We'll make sure we're available. So it was two other people who volunteered to be available. So then the second meeting that I was on just before this one, we're planning a huge Northeast Greensboro Community Resource Festival to bring a career fair and a food tasting and a community yard sale, all these things. So we're partnering with NC Works, Guilford Works, and one of the people on there, they were talking about we're doing some job readiness stuff the week before, resume writing, dress for success, that kind of thing. And they were talking about what to do for the interview skills and the resume writing. And they were presenting a lot of base level stuff. And I said, well, what we don't want to do is forget about the people who need intermediate support. So people who may have a resume but not feel confident that their resume is okay. They may know some interviewing skills, but we want to make sure that you do some mock stuff. So when the question is asked, tell me about yourself, that you don't say, hey, I'm Lisa, I'm the single mother of 5, because they can't ask you that stuff. But people don't know what the laws are. We don't want to just keep doing base level stuff. So then another person chimed in and said, yeah, but my experience is yada, yada, yada. So I had to draw back again and say, yeah, well, my experience was I was in a year out of law school, my second year of law school, when my life got upended. And there was not any opportunities to help a person like me. I know how to interview. I know how to look at a resume, but I needed some support. So I have to lift up that we can't just target the low skilled or low wages, because there are people in an intermediate space that we want to target as well. So to answer your question, that's what I like to bring, and that's what I'm comfortable bringing. And I have, whatever somebody else does with it, if they use it for bad, whatever, I can't care about that. But I didn't go through all that stuff for it to not benefit someone else.
Yeah, awesome. There's something very intimate about that approach, and it's reflective. As Celeste was speaking about history, again, you got to look at your own history. If there's something for you to reach back, look back, and reach back to, then you better do it. And if it benefits somebody else and keeps them from making an error, or maybe they made the error and they need to know how to recover. There's a whole lot to be used when we're referencing our personal histories as well. Great comment. Andre, I'm coming to you real quick, and then I want to try to run through the room with one last question. So, what's your contribution been?
So traditionally, I would tell you, I've been trained, developed, raised, groomed to give back to the community through initiatives, like you name it. Through there's always work to be done, if you will, right? So. Volunteering soup kitchens, clothing drives, food drives, actually physically getting involved. I was from a situation where you could easily write checks to donate, but I was always taught that that's not what you do. You actually get out there and get your hands dirty. But I would like to share with the group, like literally just today, just this morning, around 11:30, 12 o'clock-ish, like I adopted an elementary school today in Greensboro, Wiley Elementary School. It's a school I selected literally this morning. And it went from adopting them just for back to school till I morphed it, Felton, to I said, nope, I'm not just going to do an after back to school thing. I'm going to literally adopt this elementary school moving forward. And what does that look like? Like monthly activities, specific things for the individual class of students to help them as they transition and grow and develop to be young scholars. So that's just literally something I did this morning. So again, my video and audio sort of dicey, so I can take up too much time. But I'm a hands-on person, Felton. I believe in getting involved. I believe it's not just about writing the check. It's actually writing the check if you have the resources to write the check. But more importantly, somebody told me a long time ago, it's actually what's more valuable is actually giving your time, your resources, your ideas, your mind, and helping in those ways. So that's what I try to do, and that's what I like to do.
Awesome. I'll reference Gregory's adding on of creative, and Lisa and Andre and all parties involved have mentioned some things that sound very much like creative contributions. So yeah, good stuff. I want to just run around the space. take your time, but don't take too long. But and this question, I think, it was one I wanted to further unpack, and we'll maybe come back to it in another way and possibly connect it to another topic. But where has your pursuit taken you mentally, physically, and spiritually? Gregory mentioned some of the spirituality associated with some of this stuff, and Meryl, you brought up some of the mental drain and strain that it comes from trying to keep that boat from sinking. So where has your endeavors potentially towards the pursuit of utopia, where has it taken you mentally, physically, and spiritually? Me, taking me everywhere and nowhere and back again, but it hasn't killed me. So I'm still here. I'm still gonna be doing something that's gonna test all of that. So starting with you, Lisa, where's it taking you mentally, spiritually, and physically? And keep in mind, we're running out of time, but y'all, I want to get through the space
quickly. Okay, how do I do this quickly? Mentally, I'm flexing some mental muscles right now because I've never had to engage so many different personalities, and I have operated in a silo for 99% of my life because of trust issues, because of the fear of rejection, because of fear that I didn't know myself and I did not accept myself. So those mental muscles are whoo. But it's also liberating to finally accept, wait a minute, this is who I am, and be good with that. Like, and I'm walking in my purpose. So I'm happy most of the time. I'm physically tired, not as often as I would think, because I know I'm doing what I was designed to do. And I have the confidence that because it was designed for me, God has equipped me for what I need to get it done. So I think I'm a better person because I'm being able to engage with so many different people, and I'm checking myself when I get into my little judgy space. And then I'm leaving room for the other people to be who they are. And I'm learning to accept that because I'm accepting myself.
Awesome. And I gave the double thumbs up for the testing of the mentals because I've witnessed it, and I've celebrate you for it. And you leaps and bounds, Lisa. And it's not a bad place that you came from. It was just, I see it. I see you pouring all this into here and getting it out in a way that it cannot be denied. So I celebrate you for that. Greg and Julia, I saw you on mic if you wanted to contribute, but also get to that question of where has this thing taken you mentally, spiritually, and physically?
Well, something that Lisa just said reminded me of something very important that Earl B. Hunter taught us, Earl B. Hunter Jr. Lisa, you mentioned silos. And one of the things that Earl has spiritualized is that idea of invitation. Always accept an invitation and always extend an invitation. If you're invited to do something, I think it's a spiritual event that you just simply don't know. We don't know where that's going to lead. So simply accept that invitation and extend invitations as well.
We call it following the string. I just want to comment, it's more as far as physically, sometimes we're just exhausted because we're picking up groceries 5 days a week, doing physical. Spiritually and mentally, it's great. We're growing. But I want to comment on Lisa because when we first met her, she, I would say, operated from her emotional, we call it emotional body. She was, and now to see you so articulate and to use that mental muscle. The other thing I want to say, one of your greatest contributions is your smile. But it's like all your past experiences have prepared you for where you are now. And you are living your purpose. And that just warms our hearts. And it's so beautiful to see. So to you. And awesome. I know Felton has helped you with some of that. He's a good coach.
I have not done much. So yeah, I'm just here, but I appreciate those comments as well. Celeste, what you got? Where is it taking you mentally, physically, spiritually? I think I got some ideas.
Peace. Yeah, I'm just I'm gonna say peace. Like, I'm very much realizing that peace is gonna be the most important thing. I've always, been one of those people who's like chase goals, accomplishments. Yeah, peace, because all those things really don't mean nothing. And the people that you surround yourself with, when hanging out with your friends and family is your medicine, the peace that you have in life is what you need to be chasing. So mentally, spiritually, physically, going for a walk. I pray once a day now. My alarm goes off at 10 a.m. Hanging with my friends, hanging with my family, letting work be something that I do, not who I am. I love my job. I can talk politics, history of America all day long. But it's nice to, have a break and stepping away from education. It's nice to not have homework to study, to have applications due for some other graduate program. Finding peace, that's definitely where I realize like life wants me to go, how people can be happier. So many people will never get to experience peace because the world is just so daunting. But I feel like peace solves a majority of the problems that we as human beings have. It's just, are you going to be fortunate enough in this life and I don't even know, available, and will it be available to you in this life to find or have peace? Because I understand that peace is not accessible to everyone, no matter how hard they try.
Absolutely. You got to be malleable. This thing don't stop. It's going to be some storms and it's going to be some troubles and all that good stuff, but you got to be malleable. You got to go with the flow and you got to weigh it out. What's critically important? Probably get some sleep sometimes, not just getting things done to the point that you become useless. Andre, your thoughts on this final question?
Um, Mentally, it's made me stronger. Spiritually, it makes me it gave me a place, a position. Um, um, Helps me identify with other people, help me connect more. I really truly do understand. I'm just like sort of one cog in a bigger wheel of like humanity, and sort of my role is to work with other humans to just get things done and just pretty much care about everyone. I mean, I fundamentally just care about giving back to individuals. And somebody said something earlier today. It's like the individual people you touch and just trying to lend a helping hand and watch that blossom for one person to 10 to 100 to 1,000, whatever. Um, it's like the ultimate goal for me anyway. It's my everything. It it's pretty much the biggest thing that probably defines me as a person. Um, are just the different things I try to do. So that's it. My
Awesome,
thought.
man. Awesome. Thank you. Sounds like if you come to grown folks business, you get to some good places mentally, spiritually, and physically. Because I haven't heard anything bad yet. But we got one more to go. Meryl, I know you got a bad wheel over there, so the physical part, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
talk to us about the mental, physical, and the spiritual, and we're going to get out of here this evening.
Yeah, I don't know if the work is the physical part. I think it's just that, once if you're blessed, God blessed me to have an able body for the most part. So, but I think if you're around long enough, you're gonna have aches and pains and ligaments and stuff. So yeah, for physically, I think it's just a 50-year-old man. So um, let's see. Emotionally, I mean, I've been all over the place. I mean, I think when I first, the work that I used to do before now was like very different, and it was really focused on like individual success and like the what's in it for me versus caring about the whole. Had really had a bunch of financial goals that I thought would bring me some happiness and stuff. And so, but this work is like so diverse and so. Um, you feel like there's like so many different things to do and things that you can do. I think I have a healthy attitude, as I was talking about that whole pushing the rock and being patient, because there's somebody else is going to pick up for you. So I think I've also appreciated and been gotten to a healthier space to be like this. I'm not. It's not brain surgery, right? So I don't have to be precise. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm not building a building. So it's like it's trial and error. It's thinking about an idea, getting input from community, and deploying a pilot or something and seeing if it fails, and so maybe you learn more from the failure than success. So I'm comfortable with I'm not going to be able to necessarily solve anything, but I'm going to be like part of that tapestry, that was put together to get to, that end goal. So, but it took a while. I mean, this was not the attitude I had 5 years ago, so like over the years, I've gotten a little healthier, a little more narrow, and been like really comfortable. But like my contribution is the contribution I'm going to make that goes towards a whole bunch of other contributions. I have to have faith that there are other people that are doing similar work. So in this room right here is a testament to like people are talking about their contributions, and there's millions of other folks having conversations in other rooms. So you have to have faith that there are a lot of people doing that.
Man, I don't know if I can say it any better. It is important to be functional. I think is the foundation of everything we're discussing here. And Meryl, that was literally what I was hearing the whole time. You got to be functional in this process. You got to see what's coming, and you got to know what you left behind, and you just got to keep playing your role. And that role actually changes and shifts. Sometimes the quarterback's not the quarterback. I love the football analogy. The quarterback should be throwing the ball. Left tackle should never touch it. But maybe there's a special play design. Maybe we get creative, Greg, and we get it to the left tackle and let him throw it sometime. You guys have been awesome. I greatly appreciate the time. As always, it's Thursday evenings is something that I look forward to just for the camaraderie and the sharing of wonderful ideas and thoughts. And this is what it's all about. And I look forward to getting this live version together. And we're going to have to make sure that everybody here can come to that evening, sit around the table, break bread. Might be 2 hours instead of one. And, we'll get it shot and filmed and fit for public consumption. Meryl, thanks for doing what you do. I appreciate you providing the space and the place with NC 100, supporting me and allowing me to contribute as I do the grown folks business. Danya, thanks for what you do in the space. Celeste, Andre, Greg, Julia, Lisa, thank you all for showing up and showing out as always tonight. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Take care. Enjoy.